Hey friend, welcome back to the Getting to Ramen podcast. In this episode, I'm going to talk about some of the features that I've been working on with Meeps lately, as well as the upcoming launch of Meeps. Isn't it fun when that intro lines up nicely of Meeps? Boom! That's nice. Production value, as it were. I hope you're doing well today. I hope that you're feeling good. Out in my neck of the woods of the world, it's fall time and it's getting dark again, and so it's this part of the year. It's kind of bittersweet for me because it's beautiful out. There's the leaves are all different colors, and it's nostalgic. I don't know if you feel this way too, but I just find that at this time of year, I'm just like always. It's just always nostalgia all over the place. It's probably because of all the different senses that are getting hit at this time of year. You got the smells of fall and the colors and the sounds of the leaves and the wind and the rain anyways. But the downside is just that it's here, at least it's quite dark. So, it's not always, people need sun. We need sunshine, we need that vitamin D. And so bittersweet, but it's fun. I don't know how to transition out of this. Anyways, today I'm actually gonna get into some of the stuff I've been working on with Meeps, because the last few episodes have been more on the mental health side, which I still think is very important. And in fact, I think I might be starting another podcast kind of in that realm, probably focused on ADHD, actually. ADHD and creatives, just because, but TBD. We'll see. I'll certainly mention that here, and I won't be doing that anytime soon, because as I'm going to talk about today, I've got some big stuff coming up with Meeps. So lately we've been, we have about 23 early access customers with Meeps, and it has been, man, it's so fun working closely with people that are excited about what you're trying to do. And generally those early adopters are that kind of person. They're very excited. They're also very, forgiving of things that are, not working properly or not features that aren't totally rounded out yet. And so it's just like it's a really fun time for the product person to get to just like bounce ideas off people, see what sticks, see what what doesn't. So that's fun. It's a fun part. And I think in the past, I don't know that I ever really the whole early access portion really made sense to me. Like I think just because for me it was like I want to get it out as quickly as possible, see what people think, and then shut it down or keep going. And I still think that that's the right mindset, but having this early access time is it's kind of just like it's kind of just an extension of the customer development phase, or the customer discovery phase, where you're interviewing people, seeing what the demand is and all that kind of stuff. Like this has been really good because we have a bunch of different types of customers that come in to early access, and they have different use cases, and we can kind of see of those use cases, we've been able to sort of see which ones really need this, and what features they need, as well as like, you know, some of the use cases that we thought that were going to be, you know, a big deal ended up being like those customers aren't as urgent, you know, or whatever. They need different features, or they don't need all that Meeps is doing, which is a lot. And I'll tell you, it's a lot. We've got a lot going on in there in the product. And so, yeah, so that's been really, really valuable going through this process to kind of identify those things. You know, as soon as we launch, hopefully, there's going to be a lot more support and a lot more just like fixing things and you know, as well as marketing and all that stuff as well. And so this is a really special time where we can really focus on the product. So anyways, I'm certainly a fan of the early access process, the early access time. And that being said, we are getting close to the end of ours. The plan is really just in the next few weeks, we'll be closing down that early access plan. Currently it's $100 a year for Meeps, and you will, if you sign up now or before early access is over, you'll have that plan forever, and you'll have access to, you know, all the stuff that's there right now. So, and you know, I think that's a pretty good deal. That's pretty sweet deal. So, yeah, but yeah, we're getting close to the end. It's coming up. So we're running out of time to get into get that early access deal. And so with the launch coming up, what I've been working on a lot lately is kind of clean up, you know, quality assurance, quality Q&A. So funny. I for the longest time I thought Q&A just meant question and answer. Well, I mean, obviously, because sometimes, you know, in the context of like a talk or like what's it called? I want to say the word. I want to remember what is the word. It's going to drive me nuts. Lecture. In the case of a lecture or something, you know, Q&A means question and answer. But within development, it's, like I said, I don't remember. Quality assurance. So I just say Q&A and people know what I'm talking about. But that's what I'm doing. Just making sure that everything's working properly. You know, work on some writing some tests. I just found this amazing tool that I'm so excited to start using for tests, which Andrew Culver and a colleague of his has been working on, called Magic Test. If you haven't seen it yet, I've recently retweeted it, so you can go to my thread and see it. But they built this for Rails and for Laravel, and basically you just like open up the browser when you have this tool running and start clicking on things, and it will track what you're clicking on, and then you can go into the console and essentially save whatever actions that you had been working through, and turn it into a test. Like it translates it to a PHP, you know, Laravel test or Ruby on Rails test, whatever you're using, and you have your browser tests written. It's just like so cool. I just think that's so fun. It makes so much sense, you know? And in fact, I've always felt something like this would be so cool for like a Webflow, you know, because there's more browser tools, and I don't know, browser tools, like no code development tools now. I don't know that something like that exists, but I think that would be I know that in the past when I've worked for clients on even just like marketing sites in Webflow, and I'm like, oh, I hope that all the buttons work, and I hope that, I got to go through all of it. And if somebody goes in and makes a change, you just like don't know what's going to get messed up. And so, so it certainly would have paid for a tool that does that. That's just like, you just like hit record and then you go in and start clicking on things, save, there's a test, save, there's a test. You can integrate it with the Webflow deploy process, right? Some webhook magic there. I think that would be really cool. So there's a little SaaS idea for you. And there's so many no code tools. It's so much bigger than Webflow. It's so much bigger than just Webflow. That's what I meant to say. Because Webflow is pretty big. I'm gonna get, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, tests. So working on tests, working on some bug fixes and cleanup and all that kind of stuff, and as well as trying to wrap up this events feature, which I'm pretty pumped on, which is pretty cool. So we're gonna have built into Meeps, you'll be able to manage events, add events, manage events, allow people to RSVP to events, and then also have like some like notification emails going out prior to the event, that sort of thing. So so that's going to be really cool, and we have some customers right now that are kind of waiting for that, which I think that's going to be fun, and which is kind of like, and this is a whole other product, like events could be its own product and is its own product. We have customers that are paying for a separate tool for their community to just do this part, which is certainly the like theme of Meeps, is that we're trying to eliminate as many of the tools that you, or consolidate as many tools as we can, so you don't have to pay for all these different things and have data in all these different places. And so that's fun. But but it's also it's a whole other product that we have to maintain. So it's been interesting. Kind of like so recently I was on the Indie Bites podcast with James McGibbon, and we were talking about all the features that Justin and I have been able to like work through over the last few months. It feels like it's been a lot longer than that, but and I just realized like wow, there's like a lot of stuff there, and it's certainly exciting to think about how much we've gotten through. Like we've got I brought over all of the email marketing stuff, so like email sequences and email newsletter. Brought that over from Upscribe, but had to change a lot of stuff for what we were doing. A lot of simplifying, because it just didn't need to be quite as versatile for Meeps. But so there's a lot of work there that I didn't have to do, but a lot of other stuff that we've built since then. We've got that special. My wife always makes fun of me because I use special so often. I've got my special, whatever. I've got my special. When I was young, I had a special spoon that I used when it was, for breakfast, and then I had a special, blanket, whatever. As a kid, well, I just bought a blanket recently that I call my special blanket as well. So, there's those things that you just like, because you said it your whole life, it sounds like an adult thing to say, like it sounds like a normal thing, but as soon as somebody points it out, you're like, oh yeah, that sounds silly. So I use special a lot Anyways, little tangent there. I'm gonna find it. What was I talking about? I was talking about all the stuff we've been building. Yeah. So, yeah, lists, which is, I'm really excited about that feature. I think that was that one's been really fun. People are using it for all different sorts of things, which is really cool. In fact, actually, while one of our customers, while she's waiting for the events feature to be finished, she's using the lists feature to promote events, which I was like, oh yeah, like I didn't even think of that. And she's just like, oh yeah, this works great. So she's listing events. She can have the description. She can write in the date, and then link out to where to RSVP. So that's fun. It almost like is a placeholder feature for people who are waiting for other features. There's other things that you can do with that too. Courses. We have another customer who's like, oh, I could use this for courses until we have something integrated or built out in Meeps for that. So lists is its own whole, product. Like, and then we've got the merch. There's an entire built-in merch store for Meeps, and that doubles as just a way for member admins to send merch to members. So you don't even need to make member, or you don't need to send members to the merch store if you don't want to. You can just go in and order on their behalf, and if you have their shipping address, or if they have their shipping address on their profile, you just select it and send them merch, and then it charges your Printful account. Really fun. But it's like that's its own product. So it's funny because I just kind of like it just kind of felt like Justin and I were like, oh yeah, these are the things that would be really great. And he the whole time has been saying like, Josh, are you sure this is like a lot? Maybe we should, maybe we're taking on too much. And if you listen to the Mega Maker podcast, he's mentioned that on several episodes to me. I was like, it's fine. It's okay. Recently I realized, we're kind of in this really interesting place where there's so many great tools for developers. Like I'm building Meeps with Laravel and Tailwind and Livewire, and you can just get things built out so quickly, and you have so many pieces. And then you've got like Adam Wathen and the team at Tailwind. They've built out all of these design components, so you can just I've got access to those. So I paid for access to those. So you just like pull those in and then tweak them a little bit, and you're there. You're so much. Sorry, I'm like, what am I saying? You because you got these design elements, so much of it is built out. There's so much work that's done for you. So it's really easy. It's much easier now to get through a lot. I was just talking to somebody the other day who works for a software company that is building a tool that has a lot of the same features as Meeps, which is just a lot of features, a lot of different things. And they have 10 developers, and it's taken them, they've been working on this product for a couple years now, and they're still not quite ready to launch. And I don't for a second see that and go, oh man, I am just like so amazing. there's none of that. I think that there's just so many great tools now to be able to get work done, like build stuff out really quickly. But it's really important from the get-go to make sure that you have you're planning an infrastructure that accounts for that, or that is utilizing those tools. Because it's very easy to just like build some of the stuff from scratch, or reuse certain code that will end up hurting you in the long run, whether it's because you have to rewrite stuff, or you change something in one place and it breaks it in another. And then there's always the bureaucracy, the having a team and having all these different people in charge, and as well as customers influencing where the product goes. Like, it just, that can all slow down the process. And so I really feel like this is an awesome time to build a product with a small, just like a few people. You can get so much done. Now, that being said, just because you can build so much doesn't necessarily mean that you should. Because now we have all this stuff to maintain, and hopefully it'll be easy to do that. And if not, hopefully the product grows fast enough that we can hire people to help us do that. But that's just something that's just another part of this that needs to be taken into account when you're building. I think Paul and Jack over at Fathom Analytics, they have some really good, I've read some really good material from them about how they approach product development and like the different things, or feature development, and the different things that you should be taking into consideration when we're thinking about building a feature. It's like, how will this impact support? What kind of customers will this bring in? Are those the type of customers that we want? Like all these different things aside from just, let's make these customers happy so we can make more money. Because there's other costs. There's opportunity costs to spending time on this instead of that. Like so many things, that is the hardest part about building a software product, not the building it. The building of it is getting easier and easier. But knowing what to build and what not to build, and the business side, that's the hard part. That's the important part. All that stuff. I think this is all on topic. I don't think I'm digressing right now, but anyways, we've built a lot and have worked through a lot, and it's because of all the, I attribute it to all the tools that we're able to use to do that. But now I've got to go back in and do the hard part for me, for my brain, which is make sure that there's tests written for everything. I didn't miss anything. So yeah. But yeah, today, this morning, I've been working on events, getting that in place. The piece of that has been kind of like at the back of my mind for a long time as I've been trying to figure out how to do it, is with time zones and how to support a whole bunch of different time zones for events. And another place we need to do that is with scheduling newsletters. Right now, you can only schedule with universal coordinated time. Is that right? Yeah, it's UTC, but for some reason it's UCT anyways. So time zones support, multiple time zone support. That's something that I've been very careful to design in a way that is not going to be a big mess. So yeah, that's fun. But then, the other parts of events is pretty straightforward. It's like you have a model, you can create events, you need to be able to show them to certain people and not to other people. And once somebody registers, you need to be able to identify who's RSVP'd, who hasn't. Well, whatever, who has. So that should be coming out fairly quickly, and that's gonna be really fun. And the other thing that I'm like trying to figure out, and we've done it a little bit already, but we really want Meeps to be this, like, this tool where you can come in, you can use as much of Meeps as you want, and still be able to use any other tools that if you want to, any other tools that you're using if you want to. So obviously, like right now, Slack is one of those tools, and we want to integrate further with Slack to make it even more useful to have like Meeps as like this, the payment side and the managing of customers and the member directory and all those things, but then integrating really well with Slack so that people can jump back and forth easily, and they can also potentially see activity that's happening in Slack and see it in Meeps and vice versa. All those kind of things would be really cool. And then I want to be able to do that. Our plan is to be able to do that with a lot of these other tools as well. So as people come in and go like, oh, I want to use Luma for this. I don't want to use, Meeps event feature. I want to use Luma's event feature. We just, instead of just saying, well, fat chance, just having a really nice way to integrate with that. Because I think that will be fun. And it also allows us to have kind of simpler version of all these, like simpler alternatives to these other tools. Like we don't need to completely replace Slack, We might have a messaging feature in Meeps, and we most likely will, because it's just something that a lot of people have asked for, but it would be very simple compared to we're not going to try and rebuild Slack. So people, if they want to use it, great. And then once they grow out of it, they can just use Slack for that part and continue to use Meeps for all the other pieces. So that's kind of, that excites me. I like that approach to product. So that's been fun. So that's kind of what's been going on. And then, like I mentioned, in a few weeks we're planning to launch Meeps, and so there's kind of we're talking about the different things that we want to do there. Some of the marketing channels that we might try. We've already, Justin's kind of working with a few different. There's a lot of community indexes and directories that we're sort of like trying to get involved with, and so that we can promote the communities that are. Oops. Hello?